You know that really frustrating feeling when you're putting everything in, maybe praying really hard, hoping for, I don't know, something?
Nothing.
Exactly. Just silence. Feels like shouting into the void sometimes, doesn't it?
It really does.
So today we're going to take a closer look at that whole experience, specifically in like a faith context. People often call it a silent season.
Right. And we've gathered some really insightful material, some sources to help us kind of understand these times better.
Yeah, the idea is to explore what might actually be going on when things feel so quiet and maybe, how to navigate it.
How to get through it with maybe a sense of purpose, even.
And the big question that kept popping up for us was,
Mm.
okay, is this silence just like absence? Is God just not there?
Or could it be something else? Maybe a different kind of presence, one that's just harder to recognize immediately?
Yeah, let's try and unpack that a bit.
Okay, so the silence itself. I mean, if you believe in a loving God, a benevolent force, it's pretty natural to wonder why these silent periods happen.
Oh, absolutely. It can
Hmm.
stir up a lot of, well, unease, right?
Definitely.
And I think a really common reaction, something our sources talked about, is jumping to the conclusion that it must be punishment.
Mm-hmm. That you've done something wrong.
Like, okay, what did I do to deserve this quiet treatment?
And that's an interpretation we really need to maybe re-examine. The material we looked at suggests that often these silent patches are more about um, preparation.
Reparation,
They're like
work happening behind the scenes.
exactly unseen work. We see this pattern in, quite a few biblical stories.
Okay, like Joseph, for example.
Yeah,
That seems like a classic case.
definitely. I mean, talk about a long stretch where it must have felt like absolutely nothing good was happening.
Right. Betrayed, sold into slavery, then, thrown in prison even when he did the right thing. Just seems like one bad thing after another.
A total silence in terms of obvious, positive, divine action, you could say.
Yeah.
Years of it. It must have felt like just abandonment sometimes. But when you zoom out, look at the whole story.
You see, those awful silent years were actually crucial.
Foundational even. For him becoming this leader in Egypt, there was a process unfolding, just, under the surface, completely hidden from his view at the time.
Okay. Okay. And then there's Job. His story is intense.
Very intense. Here's someone described as righteous, living a good life, and then, bam, loses everything: family, wealth, health.
And what comes next? A whole lot of silence from God's end.
Right,
While his friends are talking, God isn't for a long time.
right. And Job's experience, it really digs into the sheer complexity of suffering in silence. It wasn't because he'd done something terrible.
It was more like a test.
A crucible is a good word. His faith was tested profoundly, and ultimately it led him to a much deeper, maybe more realistic understanding of God.
It makes you think. Even that moment on the cross, Jesus crying out, "Why have you forsaken me?"
Such a raw moment.
It's a powerful image of, well, what feels like divine silence at the most critical point imaginable.
And yet, as the story goes, that very feeling, that perceived abandonment, was somehow part of the path to redemption.
So the takeaway from the sources seems to be this silence isn't necessarily rejection. It's often more about refinement.
Yeah, refinement. Making faith less about maybe circumstance and more about core trust. Making it more authentic, perhaps.
Okay. But that waiting,
Yeah.
it feels so unproductive sometimes, doesn't it? Like you're just stuck in neutral.
That's definitely the human perspective, isn't it? It just feels like wasted time, empty space.
Yeah.
But the material we've been digging into, it really pushes back against that feeling. It suggests a totally different dynamic might be at play.
Okay.
There's that verse in Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31. It speaks right to this.
Oh, yeah. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength.
Yeah.
That's a well-known one. Feels like something to cling to when everything's quiet.
It really does. And our sources actually break down why waiting might lead to renewed strength, what these periods of silence can actually, accomplish in us.
All right, like what?
Well, one big thing is character growth.
Ah, patience. That's the obvious one, right? Waiting definitely forces patience.
It certainly does. And patience isn't just, passively waiting. The sources describe it more like an inner strength, a fruit of the spirit that develops through those stretches.
So it builds resilience.
Yeah.
Makes you more mature spiritually.
Exactly. It builds that kind of inner fortitude.
Okay, what else? The sources mention something about testing motives.
Mm-hmm. That's another angle.
Yeah.
Silence can kind of act like a mirror.
How so?
Well, it forces you to ask, why am I actually seeking God or this connection? Is it purely for who he is, or is it more about what I want from him?
Ah, so it's about the relationship versus the benefits?
Precisely. The silence can sort of purify those motives, reveal what's really driving you.
That makes sense. And then there was this third point, which sounded a bit paradoxical, that distance can actually lead to more intimacy.
Yeah, it does sound counterintuitive at first, doesn't it?
A little bit.
But think about it. When that sort of easy feeling of connection, that sense of presence fades,
Hmm.
what do you do?
You probably seek it out more actively. Try harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That very act of reaching out because you feel the absence, that yearning, that intentional pursuit, that can forge a much deeper, more personal bond than when things felt easy.
So the effort itself builds the connection.
In a way, yes. The seeking becomes part of the intimacy.
Okay. So you're in that silent space, though.
Yeah.
Feels like your prayers are hitting the ceiling. It's just hard.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's easy to get discouraged.
Yeah.
The source material definitely acknowledged those feelings, bitterness, doubt creeping in.
Spiritual apathy, even, just feeling kind of numb or disconnected.
Yeah, those are really understandable reactions.
Totally. And that's why having some practical anchors is so important. Ways to stay grounded when you feel adrift.
Right. Our source laid out some concrete steps, didn't it?
Yes. Some really helpful things to focus on.
Okay, let's walk through those. First one, keep praying, even when it feels pointless.
That's a tough one because your instinct might be to stop if you're not getting a response.
Right. Like, what's the point?
But the emphasis here shifts. It's less about prayer only as getting answers and more about prayer as maintaining the line of communication, staying connected.
And being honest in it, like telling God you're frustrated.
Absolutely. The sources encourage that kind of raw honesty, voicing the doubts, the questions, the hurt. That's part of the relationship too.
Okay. Anchor number 2, stay in the Word, keep reading Scripture or foundational texts.
Yeah, even if it doesn't feel like it's speaking directly to your situation in that moment. The idea is that God's voice is still present in these texts.
So read the promises again. Read the Psalms, maybe, where people are struggling.
Exactly. Reading stories of others who waited faithfully. It's about connecting with that larger narrative of faith through difficulty.
Got it. Third anchor, worship while you wait.
Engaging in practices like worship, singing, meditation, whatever connects you spiritually, even if you don't feel particularly worshipful.
Why is that helpful?
Because it shifts your focus.
Yeah.
It intentionally turns your attention back to who God is, his character, his nature, rather than just dwelling on your current silent circumstances.
So it combats the discouragement.
It can, yes. It refocuses the mind and heart and can bring a sense of peace, even amidst the waiting.
Okay. Fourth anchor, lean on your community. Don't go it alone.
So important. We're often not meant to navigate these things in isolation.
Yeah, the source really stressed sharing what you're going through with, trusted friends or people in your faith community.
Right. Letting them offer support, maybe prayer, sometimes just an encouraging word or a different perspective you hadn't considered. It can make a huge difference.
Definitely. And the last one was about memory, right? Remembering past faithfulness.
Yes. Remember what he's done before. Reflecting on times in the past when you did feel God's presence or saw prayers answered or got through a tough time.
How does that help now?
It acts as evidence almost. A reminder that God has been faithful, that he has shown up. It builds hope that he will again, even if things are quiet right now. It's like fuel for endurance.
That's a good way to put it. Fuel for endurance.
Oh.
Okay, so you use these anchors, you persevere, and the good news is these silent seasons don't last forever.
That's a crucial piece of reassurance from the sources. Yes, they do end. Breakthrough does come.
And often, when it does, you come out the other side changed.
Definitely. The sources talk about positive outcomes like that renewed strength we mentioned from Isaiah. You often emerge feeling, stronger, more deeply rooted in your faith.
And maybe more grateful, too, having come through the silence.
Very much so. A deeper appreciation for connection, for answers when they come.
And there was another interesting outcome mentioned, how going through this yourself can actually prepare you to help others.
Yes, that's a really powerful aspect. Your own journey through the silence, your struggles, and how you navigated them, that equips you.
It gives you empathy and maybe some practical wisdom to share.
Exactly. Your pain can sort of be transformed into a platform, a way to minister to others who are walking that same path. Your story becomes a guidepost for them.
Turning your struggle into support for someone else. That's quite profound.
It really is. It shows how even difficult experiences can have this ripple effect of purpose beyond just ourselves.
So, wrapping things up, it feels like the main takeaway is, that faith isn't just about the good times. Faith that endures the quiet times is maybe the strongest kind.
I think that's right. It's not fragile, it's resilient. It's profound because it's been tested by that silence and held firm.
Yeah. And maybe for anyone listening right now, if you feel like you're in that quiet space,
Hmm. Feeling unseen, unheard.
the message we got from digging into this is you are seen, you are heard, and something is happening even if you can't perceive it yet.
Absolutely. Remember that distinction. It's likely not punishment. It's much more likely to be preparation.
Preparation, that's the word to hold on
It
to.
really is. So keep seeking, keep connecting in the ways that resonate with you.
And maybe trust that even in the silence, God might be communicating something deeper.
Something that requires perhaps a different kind of listening. The listening with faith. That's something to think about, isn't it?